Aloha and mahalo for joining me. I'm Janet and welcome to the Called to Create podcast. I am here to help you unlock your creative potential and use your God-given gifts and start a business. You have so much to share, ladies, and the world needs your creative gifts to be shared. I needed to share that with you today. And I want to share with you what it means to have a creative business. I titled the podcast this because I think sometimes when we hear the word creative, it's such a big word that sometimes it's not very clear because creative can mean a lot of things. And that's what I wanted to talk about because I love talking about being creative and what it means and to create something. I just think that the world is such an amazing creation. So I hope you get excited about this topic today because I am encouraging you to start a creative business. And so that's where I want to start. What it means to have a creative business is there's so many things that are made up of a creative business. And so I'm going to talk about some of the major things that is involved in a creative business and what it all means. And of course, this is not like an extensive list of things. It's just some of the main things that I know that I do and what I know to be a creative business. And I'm going to start off by saying that a creative business, what it means is it's whatever you want it to be. And I'm not trying to be funny, even though I think I'm funny. Nobody else in my family thinks so, though. But I'm not trying to be funny where it's like, okay, yeah, you can just, have it to be whatever you want. But you literally can create and have whatever kind of business you want. And that's the beauty of a creative business, especially with technology and the internet available to you at like the touch of your cell phone or the click of your mouse on your computer. The possibilities are endless. And I love every minute of it because I'm always thinking about what I can create with actual physical material items or what I can create on the computer and what I can teach on this podcast. It's amazing. And I hope you feel my excitement for creating. And I want to inspire you to go on that creative journey where you feel that excitement when you're creating and sending something out, sending whatever you create out into the world. It's there to, your creative gift is there for a reason. Okay, so here is another thing I want to say about what it means. Here's another thing I want to say. Like, I can almost guarantee that you love to create beauty. And there's something so magical about that. And sometimes it's hard to explain because it's just what you do. Now, do you feel that? Do you feel that when you create, there's something magical about it? I hope so. It's where you put your heart and your soul. It's just so special. And it also means that, which is like, I think, probably the most important thing to have a creative business is that it means you use your God-given creative gifts and put something that you create out into the world. God has given you your gift for a reason. And the best thing you can do is to partner with God in your business. That's what I do because God, is all-knowing and can show you things that you would have never even imagined. He has shown me many things. And it can mean something that you care so deeply about, that it comes from your heart, and you create something that's just so special to you. And I know I'm going to repeat myself a lot, but I just think when you create, it's just so special when you can share it with other people too. And it expresses a part or maybe even all of who you are, especially when you're putting your heart and soul into something. And you get to include your core values in your business. In fact, it's a must to include your core values because if you don't, something will always feel like it's missing because your core values are what lead you. And without you even realizing it, core values play a big part in everything that you do and everything that you think and stand for. So core values is another one. And having a creative business also means that it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling for you when you wake up every day and you feel excited about your life and you feel excited about what you're creating. And especially like that excitement when you bring something that exists in the spiritual and you bring it to life in the physical world. And everything starts out to be a spiritual thing and then it becomes a physical thing. And I hope that makes sense. In later podcasts, I'll probably try to expand and expound on what that means. And also, having a creative business means you're serving other people for free by sharing your gifts, and you're serving people in exchange for money. Because if you don't exchange your time, your services, or your physical products for money, then all you have is a very expensive hobby. And there's nothing wrong with having an expensive hobby if you have the means to do so. And that's such a blessing to you and those that you serve. And I encourage you, if you do have the means, to share your gift even more for free. But right now, I'm talking about in this episode, I'm talking about having a business where you're actually making money. I'm not talking about having an expensive hobby. And that's for those that have the ability and the means to have an expensive hobby. But the other thing is that you can decide how many hours you want to work. You literally can decide what your hours and days will look like. And I can't even express to you how amazing that feels. Because you know, when you have a job and you have to go to work for somebody, you're always on their time schedule. You have to be at work at a certain time. You can only take lunch at a certain time for a lot of people. You can only leave work at a certain time, and you're required to do certain things. But the beauty of having your own business is that you get to decide all of that. What time you're going to start, what time you're going to go to lunch, what time you're going to finish, if you want to work on Saturdays or not. That's totally up to you. And that's so freeing. It helps you feel like you can breathe and you're not trapped. And like, that's how I felt when I used to have a job, because I've always had my own business and had a job at the same time. I did two things, which I don't recommend to everyone, but I really missed out on a lot, especially when my kids were little. But I just always had this desire to be an entrepreneur and have my own business since I was in my 20s, or probably even when I was a kid. I used to always do two things. And in the beginning, I didn't really know how to manage both. And, back then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have business coaches like what I'm doing. I'm a business coach, and I want to encourage you to start a business. That's why I have this podcast. I want to share all the things that can help you start your own business. And having your own business, it comprises a lot of things. It's all of the things that I've just talked about. And on top of all that, you get to decide who you're going to serve. That's so special too, because I decided that I only want to serve women. Because that's what I've done for 30 years, is just work with women. On occasion, when I used to work at a sewing store and I used to teach classes, I did have a couple of male students. But in general, I've only served women. And so that's who I still want to serve. And I get to decide what that's going to look like. What my business is going to look like. And you can decide what you want your business to look like. You can decide on how much time you want to spend in your business, working in it, like I just mentioned. But you can also decide how much time you want to spend on it. Just the creative idea part and all of that creative juices coming alive. And one of the last things I want to mention is you can decide how much money you want to make. And literally, you can decide if you want this business to be part-time, where you just want a little bit of extra money, Or you can decide that this can be a full-time business where you're making more money, especially if you need it to live on or to supplement another income. And those are just some of the things of what it means to have a creative business. And there are endless things that go into what it means to have a creative business. And those are some of the main things and the really important ones that I wanted to share with you today. So I want you to get serious about starting a creative business, and I want you to share that with me and send me a direct message on Instagram. And if you're interested in coaching with me, you can send me an email. The email address is aloha@janenjohnston.com. So that's aloha@janenjohnston.com. And I would love for you to share this podcast with anyone who you know would get great value out of listening to it. Or if you know anyone that wants to start a creative business, please send it their way. I would appreciate that. And I want to invite you to come over and join my Call to Create podcast community in Facebook, where you can connect with other listeners of the show, and I can answer your questions, and you can learn and grow, and we can work together, and you can work together with other wonderful women. I really want you to be there. So I'm looking forward to meeting you there. So go over to bit.ly/Call to Create podcast. And I want to ask you another favor. If you can please take a minute to rate and review this podcast. And if you're listening to this podcast in the Apple Podcast app, you can rate and review this show right there at the bottom. So as soon as you open my show, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and you can rate and review it right there. Because reviews are so important. They tell other potential listeners and Apple that this show is worth listening to. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day. Aloha.